me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Yeah, we have a very unique niche, if you will, on making people's lives better, just for what we do on a daily basis. You know, show podcasts like yours and Reckless and Datisa's and all those other ones help to tell that story and get those professionals in there. So it's not like we said before, it's not just talking heads, it's actually people that go through it on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Leadership Series, where we highlight the people shaping communities and leading with purpose. Today, we sit down with a true Parks and Rec veteran, Johnathan O. Skinner, from the City of Lake Elsinore, California. With over 5 decades in recreation, Johnathan shares how his childhood as a rec kid became a lifelong mission to serve others. From launching youth leadership programs to embracing diversity through cultural events like Mariachi Fest, his story is proof that parks and recreation isn't just about places. It's about people, connection, and legacy. We'll dive into the importance of storytelling, the evolving role of technology, and how master planning is helping shape the future of thriving, inclusive communities. Get ready to be inspired by a leader who's turned a lifetime of service into a blueprint for the next generation of parks and rec professionals. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again. We survived the Orlando convention, and I've got the great Johnathan Skinner all the way back in California.
Oh, hey,
How was your traveling?
My traveling was very good. You know, it's great to go to conference and see everybody, but it's also really good to sleep in my own bed.
Yes.
and see my granddaughter and everything. So yeah, it was really good, really good.
So what were you're the first interview I've had after the convention. So let's tell everybody what were the big takeaways from this year's convention.
Well, I would say one of the big takeaways is communication. You know, I had the pleasure of being on your show, on the podcast. I got to meet a lot of the other guests that you had either before or after my my stint with you, and it was really about communication and spreading the word about Parks and Recreation, about NRPA. I was very fortunate to actually, after meeting with you, I got to meet with Court Jones from NRPA, and he had me on, asked me some questions about NRPA and that kind of stuff. So that will be coming out sometime in the future. But I think that's one of the big takeaways is the communication and the relationship that we have with others that are in our field, and really telling our story. That's one thing that we really don't do enough. And I appreciate, you know, the two little snippets that you've done to put out to, one, show how we're an essential service, and number two is looking at how we can promote people to, you know, join our cause. Basically is the betterment of communities as a whole and the betterment of individuals as individuals. So
yeah, and like you said, as far as like storytelling, I think it's important that we have as many people as possible telling the story of Parks and Rec, and not just one time, but imagine, Johnathan, if you had to tell your story once, but then you also decided that you were going to take a nation tour and tell that same story 100 times. On the 100th time, you would be so much better at dialing in that messaging to hit just right. And so I think the story can't be told enough by enough different people, but also individuals that tell the story of Parks and Rec just need practice telling it over and over, and you just get better at doing it with repetition.
I agree. You know, one of the things, you know, one of the big takeaways is Amy Purdy, and she was our keynote speaker on Tuesday. Very dynamic speaker. And like you said, she's been telling this story since she was 19 years old. She became a double amputee. And to go on to get that fame and understanding and being able to tell that story. She tells it so fluently. One of the great takeaways, I was a fanboy when she came through the exhibit hall. And so she's talking to different people. And I go in and introduce myself. I'm, Johnathan Skinner from City of Lake Elsinore. And she looks at me and she says, I actually used to water ski in Lake Elsinore. So that
What?
connection that we had, yeah, it was amazing. It was just like, I'm like, so I was fortunate enough to get a picture with her, and I'll be putting that stuff out on my on the LinkedIn and everything. But just that connection that I had with the keynote speaker that I just heard, and her story was so powerful. I think one of the big takeaways is when, she wasn't supposed to walk and she wasn't supposed to do all this stuff. One of the first videos that she showed was her dancing with her father,
Oh
with her new
man.
legs. And she could dance with her father even before she could walk on her new legs, and how she was to adapt to whatever sport she was going to be doing. I mean, she would tell the story about, having all these feet in her closet, and, she would do wakeboarding. So she would have to cut off the toes to make it for wakeboarding and all this other stuff. So, yeah, we have a very unique niche, if you will, on making people's lives better just for what we do on a daily basis. And show podcasts like yours and Reckless and Datisa's and all those other ones help to tell that story. And you get those professionals in there. So it's not like we said before, it's not just talking heads. It's actually people that go through it on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to all those other podcasters. So DPRS Media Company is a little bit different in that we're trying to create a media company where podcasts can get help with editing, promotions, and then we can amplify your message to the larger audience that we're accumulating. And if you're making content in the Parks and Rec industry, it's free of charge, because right now we're just trying to get the content out there so we have 24/7 round the clock, just like these sports fanatics that will throw ESPN on at 2 in the morning. They can always watch some type of sports on ESPN. We want the same type of ecosystem, constant communication around the messaging of Parks and Rec. So if you're making a podcast, reach out to me. I will gladly help get your message out. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I love the ones that you've developed. You have a sports one, you have the parks maintenance, you have a leadership, you have a youth leadership one as
Yeah, yep,
well.
yeah.
Plus this one here. I mean, that's several different opportunities for that word to get out.
Yeah. Well, our next one that we're launching is smart cities in Parks and Rec. One of our great vendors, Outdoor Link, wants to help us create that. And so what we'll do is we'll start creating weekly content around how Parks and Rec departments are, connecting all their devices, lights, doors, bathroom doors, gates, and all to the internet, and how we're starting to become smart cities versus sending out directors to turn breakers off in the middle of the night when they get left on.
Yeah,
So
that is so true.
yeah,
That is awesome.
we got about a dozen other shows that will become weekly shows that'll give us another 12 hours of weekly content, all on different stuff. I know we've got one for urban forestry. I'm working with another group that wants to create one on all things master planning, financing, accounting, which is an often avoided topic in Parks and Rec, but
But
critical to be
necessary.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely necessary. Well, what I'd like to do is play. So we played the essential service video that we made, which is on our YouTube channel. It's not copyrighted, so if you feel like you can use this to further the cause of Parks and Recreation, please do. I'm giving permission, so you don't have to ask me. Just find it on YouTube and it's yours. But we created another one that you could play in front of a group of young kids or high school or college kids that don't really know what they're going to do with the rest of their life or what kind of career path they want to choose. And so we made this so that anyone could play it in front of that, say, classroom, and then you could then give your testimony as to why you chose Parks and Recreation. So I'll play this, And then I'd like to get your feedback on it.
Excellent.
All right, hold on. Every career is a choice, but few careers let you touch lives. Not once in a while, but every single day. Step into a park on a Saturday morning. You'll hear children laughing on the soccer field, families gathering for a picnic, seniors walking the trails, finding health and friendship. And behind every smile, every memory is a Parks and Rec professional. We don't just mow fields, we grow confidence in young athletes. We don't just build playgrounds, we create safe spaces where childhood thrives. We don't just plan events, we design moments that anchor generations. Think of the coach who teaches patience, the director who champions equity, the staff member who sees potential in a child no one else believed in. Every day, Parks and Rec professionals shape character, preserve beauty, and strengthen community. And the path isn't easy. Budgets are tight, resources stretched thin, but the reward, unmatched. Because what you give comes back in legacy, in healthier communities, in lives forever changed. So why dedicate your life to Parks and Recreation? Because here, your work never ends. It lives on, in laughter echoing across playgrounds, in green spaces preserved for the next century, in the young professionals rising to lead tomorrow. This is not just a career, it's a calling, it's a legacy, it's Parks and Recreation. A message from the Parks and Rec community. All right. So what are your thoughts?
I love it. I think it embodies what we were just talking about. You know, our field is basically, we're memory makers. We're the ones that, as people take our programs or go to our events, and further down the line, when they start having kids, they start introducing them to the same types of things, activities that they were able to enjoy when they were younger. You know, it leads on. When I'm watching the video, I'm thinking about several different opportunities that we've had, that I've been blessed with to be able to do. I think I might have talked before about our Future Leaders program that I do here with Candace Alvarez, who's our city clerk. It's a program for juniors and seniors to learn about city government, and so they're aligned with directors, and we're getting ready to start a program up here. Actually, today we're actually doing a training today. We have 20 students, juniors and seniors in high school, and so when they're paired and they're seeing how city government works, all the way to just the beginning to actually having a mock city council meeting, so they can see how it operates. And we actually bring in council members and staff to be the general public. So they come up with different names, and they put them through their paces. Well, one of the students we had in the very first program we had is Brendan Fuentes, and I talk about him a lot as an example. He's a really good student, went through it twice as a junior and a senior, got our Carl Graves Scholarship, which it was a person who was in the city. He was also a city council member or city staff, but he also worked for the school district. He left us an endowment of $1 million, so we give out so much each year. He got the first ROTC scholarship. He went on to go to UCLA, get his degree, join Space Force. Now he's a commander of a group in Alaska, and we still keep in touch now. He credits our program in helping him shape where he wanted to go in the future.
Yeah,
that's that legacy that we talk about, that these different kind of programs we do. Another youth and government program that we did up north, that I did up north in Santa Clarita, same type of situation. Student went through it, couple of years later, come to find out, he actually became a teacher because of the Youth in Government program that we did. And you know, those kind of things resonate, and it shows the long-term effects of positive recreation that we can do to help shape, you know, our communities.
Yeah, and you know, when you're planting seeds decades in advance, like Parks and Rec does, I mean, they're planting seeds into children sub 20, really sub 15 even. And then a lot of times these seeds don't mature till in their 30s and 40s. And I don't know about y'all, but for me, I trace back some of my biggest life lessons to when I was coached in high school and in grade school. And those lessons are still with me today, still producing fruit long after patience was taught on a football field or something like that. It just keeps on giving.
Exactly. I think I told you the story that I actually been in this field since I was 7 years old. I saw the benefits back then in seeing, you know, kids that would typically be out in the street and causing havoc, and they were able to give us an opportunity to be productive. And, you know, I started as a junior CIT. Usually CITs are at 12 years old. I got to start at 7. And so I've been doing this field since, you know, for very long. I'm 62 now, so I've been doing it since I was 7. So I got a little experience. When they talk about rec kids, I was a rec kid. Went to Boys and Girls Club and learned how to box there. You know, played football, worked through my high school and college career. Went back and got my master's, got a couple degrees, all in community service or service to the community. You know, I have my master's in public administration. So I really believe strongly in what we do and how we can benefit communities.
Yeah. You know, I know it's different for different people, but what is it like being a former beneficiary of the Parks and Rec? You know, I think when you were the kid in Parks and Rec and now you're the adult serving the kids, that's got to be a huge impact on you knowing that you're giving back to what formed you as a kid. How has that kind of affected you and your leadership?
Well, you know, I always talk to the team, and we have a team. I'm just the guy who happens to be here. If you talk to my team, they know. They say, well, Johnathan doesn't like to be called the director. He's one of our team members. And so what that means to me and where I see it being a benefit is that I've been able to nurture some people to be the best that they can be. You know, some people get into recreation because so they believe it's a simple job to do, and I come and I go and that's that. I strongly believe that people have guiding forces where they need to go, and some are in recreation, and other ones might be in business or some other part. What we do here, what I've done, is to been a stepping stone to them getting to where they need to go, or where they're at, whether it's in recreation or whether it's in another niche, and being able to do that and see how they can benefit in being into recreation when they actually grab hold of it. It reminds me of when I grew up, and I had that mentor there. I had Ken Ostini in Lompoc, California, who saw something in me and gave me those abilities to be a junior chaperone. I think I mentioned before, we used to take buses from Lompoc down to see the Lakers play, and he helped, you know, at that age, 7, 8, 9 years old, being able to guide you know, groups over to, you know, meet some of the players and everything like that. So it's a great reflection of where I grew up and how I'm still carrying it forward. So I believe in training that next leader.
Now, you've been in California the whole time?
No, actually, I was born in Wichita Falls, Texas. That's why I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
I moved when I was very young. My majority of my work has been in California. in different parks and recreation departments. And then for a stint, I was in Nevada and worked for originally for Inclined Village up in Tahoe. I was a recreation manager there, and was able to turn it into a parks and recreation manager. And then I transferred down to the city of Reno, and was a sports manager there. And it was very cool. We had a plethora of fields, and I would manage those and do special events, and then I was there for approximately about 8 years, 5 years with Reno, and 3.5 with Incline Village. Then moved down to San Diego, where I ran a campground down there, Santee Lakes. Shout out to Santee Lakes, really, really good. Where I was able to cut my teeth on campgrounds. Great campground. Had a great mentor by the name of Alan. And then I came up here to Lake Elsinore, and I've been here for like the last 12 years. So some of most of it's been in California, but some has been in Nevada.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've noticed now that I've interviewed people from nearly every state with the Daily Parks and Rec show, I've noticed there are like Parks and Rec departments region to region are so different. Like my people in Colorado and that area are massive on trails. Up in the Northeast, it's how their funding is totally different. In the South, the Gulf South, it's all about sports. Is there something unique about California, or kind of help us understand what does Parks and Rec looks like in the state of California?
Well, for me, it's always been about the outdoors and relationships with sporting teams and those kind of things. For instance, down in Santee, we were really big on bringing the community to Santee Lakes. We were really big on bringing people to the lakes to go fishing, and we had 5 and 10Ks that were run in the facility itself. And this campground was right in the middle of Santee, but it had 7 beautiful lakes. Did a lot of stocking, and the camping was really, really extraordinary. Here in Lake Elsinore, we're really big into special events and programming. So we like the community aspect to it. We are trying right now. We're going through a redo of our recreation master plan, working with Nikki Ginger, with Barry Dunn and our team, trying to find out, what do we want to be when we grow up? What do we want to be in 10 years? And some of the things that are coming back is, as you said before, the community likes to have activities, trails, bike parks, pools. Right now, we don't have our own pool. We actually use the one, have a good relationship with the high school. So we do that in the summer. But, looking at, an actual indoor pool, a full-size recreation community center. Whereas I think we talked about it before, Craig, we're the masters of repurposing. So the community center I'm in right now used to be a movie house, and our other one used to be a jail. In our city hall, we're building a new one right now, but it used to be a bank. And the community, the cultural center used to be a church. So here we do a lot of repurposing, but again, it's about people wanting to have a connection with the community. So one of our biggest events that we do is our Winterfest that we do the first Saturday in December. And we have 10,000 of our closest friends who come down to see this great parade that the staff, I mentioned in the weekend, last week, Giovanni Huerta, Bo Davis, Missy Veliz, Priscilla Perez, our whole team, Alejandro Hancock. They do a live broadcast of the parade and everything going on. It's broadcast. We've had people watching it from Germany, which is pretty intense. But again, these different kind of things that we're known for. We just had our Mariachi Fest. I mentioned that at the podcast we had.
Now,
It's
what
an
is that
annual.
called?
So Mariachi Fest is
Mariachi
an
Fest.
event that Giovanni Huerta, when he came on several years ago, where we did a 2040 plan, trying to find ways to communicate with the city. Well, what we found was we have over 60% Hispanic, but we weren't doing programming for that community, not a lot. So one of the things that he wanted to bring was a Mariachi Fest. We just had it Saturday, had really good numbers. We actually had the Mexican consulate that was there representing, and they recognized Mariachi Fest as a cultural event that they are promoting not only here in the United States but also down in Mexico. And again, this came from an idea that Giovanni had to meet that group that hasn't been really focused on. From there, we actually now do bilingual book readings for kids and our Zumba classes and a lot of things we're doing that we weren't doing before because we found that niche that was not being met and found a way to meet it.
Now, especially Southern California, has a massive Spanish-speaking community. That's just part of California, correct? But how do y'all kind of serve? And this is one example, I guess, that you're talking about. But how do y'all serve these different cultures that are within your community?
Well, a lot of it's done through programming. We're very fortunate to have a very good bilingual staff. And so a lot of it has to do with them getting essential services for their homes and those kind of things. Like they're doing some building on they're doing some building on their property. But typically when you call, there's not somebody bilingual who's able to assist with that. So we have a lot of bilingual staff that are able to help with that. And the city helps with various compensations for that if they have different kind of skills. And then us having bilingual individuals who are able to do that, a lot of them in the Parks and Recreation Department, that helps to get that communication out to the community. When we're doing our master plan that we're doing right now, we actually have our staff working with Barry Dunn to do bilingual interactions. So we make sure that we're meeting those different needs that they have that might not have been met before.
Yeah. I think I haven't looked at it yet, but I thought Apple just released a new headset that translates real time as the person speaking the different language is talking to you. It translates it to your language right there in the headset. And I'm sure it's horrible version 1, but I can see that improving so much to where it's just part of your next earphones that you're going to get are just going to be able to interpret whatever language is around you.
Yeah, I've heard of those before. They've actually been out for a couple of years, but I haven't heard of headphones that actually do that. But
Yeah.
I think that's where we really need to go, and it's there now. Same thing with AI, that you're able to speak into something and it's able to translate it into so the receiver can understand it, and when they speak back, it changes it as well. So
That's right.
we have a lot of positive things that are out there that are helping us to communicate a lot better.
Yeah. Well, since we're close to the halfway point, I'll play our 2 little promotions that we have. But after that, I'd love to talk about the whole master planning process, since y'all are right in the thick of it. That this is actually a show that we're in the process of building, and a chunk of it's going to be on master planning and accounting and fundraising and grant writing. But I think that's going to be a great topic for us. So I'll play the first one. I'm going to play is for if you are a vendor in the Parks and Rec community and you'd like to work with us to help build a media company for this industry. Please reach out to me and let's get the conversation going, because it's going to take quite a few of us to build an ESPN, but for Parks and Recreation. So we need all the help we can get. And then after that, I'm going to play a promo for our facilities maintenance show. And then we'll come back and finish up with Johnathan. At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together. Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of Parks and Recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co., where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job. It's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. Facility Maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy.
All right. So maybe before we get to the master planning, let's give a shout out to how important are these facilities maintenance crews that keep things going?
Oh my goodness, you're hitting it out of the park with these promos, because it actually highlights the unsung heroes. You know, a lot of times when they come over to a special event that we have, they give us, oh, you know, Johnathan, your team's done a really good job. Well, the team has a lot of hidden gems that are, for instance, the Mariachi Fest. We could not have done that without Public Works, who came out and they put up a tent. And while I was in Orlando, we had a really bad weather storm that was here, and the tent was damaged. Public Works came by and took care of it, put it back up to make sure it was perfect. So when I got here on Saturday, everything, you would never know that any of this stuff happened. Those are those hidden heroes that you're highlighting there, and I think that's really, really important. Yeah. I challenge other professionals to not only get this to our staff, but also get it out in the community, because you don't know until you know. And when they're able to see these types of shows that you're creating, I think it's an excellent opportunity for people to get educated and go, oh, you know what? It's just not as easy as XYZ, turn on a switch or something like that. It takes a whole regimen of things to make things happen.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the misconception is parks, maybe even all parks professionals, they only cut the grass. That's all they do. But it's so much more. Two things that come to mind, and I'd like you to expand upon it, is every special event is done by that same group of people. The setup, the weekend of, the teardown, and then all these special projects we throw at them, to where we're tearing down this playground, we're building a new one, we're putting a new roof over here. There's almost like a massive project management construction effort that never ends, plus the special events. Are there any other things that we can kind of shed a little more light aside from just cutting the grass?
Well, here we're very fortunate in that we have a special event committee, basically, and it's not just us. It's not just public works. It's also law enforcement, because when we're having something, we want to make sure people are safe. It's also fire, to make sure that if we have vendors, they're taking care of making sure that there's a grease catch underneath their carts and those kind of things. It's also engineering. We have to make sure that the egress and ingress to get to different locations is fine. We have to make sure that the people are fine to come. So we have to make sure that there's proper blockage of places. So if somebody, a really quick example, Craig, is we had an event that we had just gotten in these brand new bollards that were put in. Some person decided, they were driving around there trying to evade the police, the sheriffs. And if it wasn't for these bollards that we put in, would stop the person from coming in, they actually hit the bollards and they're okay. But these people were not, the person who did that was not able to go in and injure somebody.
Right.
That's thanks to the city council and the city management. So we have a whole group that when people come, they have a great time. They don't realize all the backyard stuff that takes place, that we have meetings every couple of weeks, because we have so many different events that are happening that we have to get our checks and balances going. And right now I mentioned Bo Davis and Giovanni Huerta and Missy Valise. They're currently working on a process to make it easier for people that want to do events to get them in, but they have to go through a whole checks and balance system to make sure that everything is fine. So much that goes along with that, not just a parade. There's so much behind the scenes that take place.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, for instance, if we just take any normal special event, like say a 4th of July celebration, and you go buy a hamburger from a vendor, like a food truck or something. And so as a attendee, you just buy a hamburger and watch the fireworks. But to get you that hamburger, there, you park your truck here. Who needs electricity? How many of you using gas? Where are the barricades set up? How many people do you expect that are going to attend? It's just,
Riverside County Health has to come down and they have to
yeah,
check everything to make sure we have the permits and everything going. If there's alcohol, there's a whole another. So yes, in order to get that hamburger and a soda, it takes many hours to do it. And
yeah,
luckily we have a fantastic staff here that work really well together to make sure those things happen.
yeah. And a lot of these people, they're planning next year's event at this year's event, because they
Oh
get to
yes.
see there's something goes wrong at every special event. There was never a special event that didn't have some uh, incremental improvement that is discovered at this year's special event. And so
Yeah.
typically have a whole year planning cycle that starts at the event itself.
Yeah, we call them opportunities for success. So something happens, it's an opportunity of success to make it better for the next time. Definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's get into master planning. Maybe can you just describe to someone what is a master plan in its basic form, and then we can elaborate from there.
Master planning is basically, what do we want to be when we grow up? You currently have parks, trails, athletic fields, you name it, buildings that you currently use, and you are going down a certain path right now based on what your history of knowledge of serving this community is. So master plans for facilities that I work for, or organizations that I work for, usually happen anywhere from 10 to 15 years. And they're out 10 to 15, maybe 20 years. Our last one was done in 2008. When I came on in 2014 and Bo Davis came on in 2014, it was what Ben Foster, he's one of our managers, he's a senior management analyst here. It was a coffee table book. It was something that was done, that was put on the side. And yeah, we have a master plan, but nothing was really activated. As I mentioned before, we're working with Barry Dunn and Nikki Ginger and Elsa, who's helping us put everything together. We took a look at what we had before, which was fine, but also when it was done before, there was 30,000 people, 40,000 people. We're now at 70,000 people. We're only 35% built out. So what it does, it helps give us a roadmap of where we need to go in the future. Our master plan, how we started the process, is we worked with our city manager, Jason Simpson, and the team to come up with an RFP. We put an RFP out, and we did an interview process with several different master plan consultants. We narrowed it down to Barry Dunn, because not that the other ones were wrong, is they matched what we were looking at as far as community outreach. So once we were able to get it approved by council, we then sat down and met with them and did a roadmap of where we want to go into the future. So started about a year and a half ago, did a lot of community outreach, and they came to all these events we talked about. They did focus groups with our council, focus groups with our management team, also with the rank and file, because they're the ones who are the frontline people who work with the community. Did a statistically valid survey. I'm glad I was able to say that. I always mess that up. That basically did phone interviews and got information that, based on our community, we had to have so many that responded back. Well, we actually got a little bit more than that. So we have a good basis of what people are looking for as far as recreation, parks, activities, those kind of opportunities there. And they take all that information and they put it into a very nice, digestible, digestible packet that is given to council. And it's that roadmap of looking where we need to go in the future. Now, something that's different for us is we actually have a lake in the middle of the city. And a lot of people, when we first started the process, we had a problem with the lake. It was getting better, but it wasn't to where people were ready to participate with it. Luckily, we have a great lake management team led by Adam Guffarati and some of the other departments that Adam was able to get some funding and everything to put in some, what are they called, nano bubblers, to actually inject microscopic oxygen into the lake, which actually has made the lake much better. So now people are starting to focus on that. So now we need to take a look at that component and how we put that into the master plan to get to where we want to be in the future. So that's basically the process that it goes through. And then once it's approved, we also put in different, like for instance, okay, we need a community center. So they do a cost analysis of what a community center would be at this point in time, and do, some projections of what it'd be in the future. And so that what goes and it folds into a CIP, or a capital improvement project plan, that helps us look to the future of how we can get these things. So that's kind of a long-winded, of how a master plan works.
Yeah, and one thing, it kind of reminds me of my engineering days when our professors would say, build me a bridge to hold this weight. And they would have this little phrase now. They would say, assume an adiabatic system, assume a closed system, assume that there's not going to be any changed variables. And as long as you have a closed system, you can dial it in perfectly. But when making a master plan, you can have a perfect master plan for 40,000 people, and then for some unforeseen reason, you pick up another 10,000 people over the next decade, and now your plan won't work, or cultures shift, or your tax revenue gets cut in half. And so how important is it for master plans to be living, breathing documents, knowing that there's so many unforeseen variables, so many unknown unknowns that are coming your way over the next 20 years, and that this thing needs to be able to adjust real time?
And that's what goes into our master plan, is that it's looked at every 2 to 5 years because of the change. What we're also going through as a city is we're going through a general plan, and that's the structure of how we're looking at the entire city, being as far as roads, connectivity, the whole 9 yards. And so we're mirroring the general plan, which is how we operate as a city, with the recreation plan is how we get those goods, services, and needs for those who are looking at that holistic city, that our what we look at is how people work, live, and play. So that's luckily we're going through both of them together. So there's going to have a lot of the same language in it, and it'll have the same a lot of the same review processes, because the city is only 37% built out. In the next 10 to 15 years, that could rise to 45 or 50% or even 60. So there has to be those incremental reviews of what you have as far as a master plan to be able to adjust to the things that happen in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. These things really have to be flexible. Now, how do y'all adjust for, you losing purchasing power, your dollars not buying as much in the future as they can today? I'm assuming they're making some type of adjustments, knowing that, look, if you replace this roof on this gym, this is what it's going to cost you. But if you keep kicking this roof replacement down 10 years from now, it could be double the price.
And that's really, it's difficult, because you never know what kind of things happen. For instance, a new administration comes in, there's different kind of taxes or tariffs or whatever is there, so you can only make assumptions. And that's why you have to revisit your numbers that you have all the time. For our capital improvement project list that we do every year, it's actually a 6-year projection, but we alter it every year based on cost of services, cost of materials, interest in the community. We still use the master plan and the general plan as the basis of where we want to go, because we do it, and we're going to be doing our master plan in 5 years, 5-year increments. This is where we see ourselves in 5 years. This is where we see ourselves in 10 years. But we review it because there are those changes, like you said. The money that's available, try to find important low-hanging fruit that you're able to accomplish during that time while you have those funds, and then try to plan for that adjustment for future years, looking at various funding opportunities, partnerships, those kind of things.
Yeah. And I've had several directors that really use their master plan to govern tell me that, when an elected official comes because he's been worn out by some pickleball crowd, and he's like, "Hey, I want to build pickleball courts," and they will literally break out the master plan and say, "Okay, we can do that, but who are we postponing? Who are we telling no? Because that's not in the plan, and there's not infinite money here." So, how important it is to kind of help your elected officials look at the master plan and help you say no to whatever project that's going to replace.
Well, you said it best right there, Craig, is that we get that master plan in front of our council, and we have them, adopt the master plan. So they're able to use it as saying, okay, pickleball, we see pickleball here, but it's in year 4 or year 5 or year 2. And if we're going to move it forward, what is going to need to be changed? Move farther out, or actually, taken off. It's a fluid document, similar to our CIP, because we have things that we have planned every year that, unfortunately, due to either lack of materials, funding, whatever, is deferred. And you talked about deferred maintenance, but it might be deferred to a later time in the year, or maybe a later year or something like that, just to make sure that we have the proper funding in order to make it so we can make it happen. Changing fees or changing costs in current programs that we have, or current construction. We're building a new city hall right now. We're also building a library that we receive funds from the county to help pay for. Well, when we started the process, it was at a certain price, and as we go down, there's various things that change. So there might be something that we need to take off the table in order to complete this job. But again, it goes back to making sure that our council is aware of the various different aspects that we have in order to complete something. To answer that question of that person who says, I need a pickleball court right now. Well, we have it in for 2026. We had some additional costs on this project that needs to take place, so we might need to move it, back a little further back. And luckily, our partnership with Public Works and as the team itself is we have tennis courts that would be able to be convertible to a pickleball court / tennis court.
Yeah.
So that in that example, we may be able to do something, not do a full blown pickleball complex, but we could do some things that would help us get to that next level, where we could actually look at that one that was approved in the master plan at a later time, but we're able to do some incremental things to make it work.
Now, let's say, and I actually do know we have several listeners that are regulars, that they are doing the first ever master plan for their city. So in hindsight, what are some landmines that you could maybe warn people about when creating a master plan, things that you maybe didn't think of till after you've gotten one or two under your belt?
One of the things that I've been very fortunate to be part of is we have something called the Dr. Pepper Club. And what it is.
Oh, yes, I remember.
The Dr. Pepper Club. So we have
that.
directors in different areas down here in Southern California, and we have 17 to 20 that participate in various questions that we put out. One of them that we did before we started was like, okay, who's done a master plan, and can you send us your master plan? So we were able to get at least 5 to 7 different master plans. We were able to pick and choose the different kind of information we had, and we got it to our city management to take a look at, and they said, okay, this is good. Let's go ahead and go forward with it. For this one particular, has to do with the lake, as I mentioned before. When we started the plan, the lake, we had just started doing some improvements with the lake. Well, now the lake is more of a focal point, and so we have to pivot to make sure that we're answering those questions that are there on the lake. How do we activate the lake? What kind of amenities do we have around the lake? Those kind of things. And so, yeah, there are those things that you need to pivot for, and that's what we're doing right now. And it'll just bolster a better plan when we're totally complete.
Yeah. Were there any? So I know Barry Dunn is one of the big ones. What were some of the other companies? And then what were the strengths? What were the weaknesses? And you don't have to mention their strengths and weaknesses by name, but what are some things that attracted you to how Barry Dunn is, or any other ones? What would you say that if someone's going to help you with a master plan, make sure they can do these 2 or 3 things?
Well, we had a lot of the heavy hitters, I consider, in it. We had Next Practices with Nile. We also had RHA that is down here in Southern California. We've used them before. Again, they're all reputable companies. We've used them in one way or another. It's just that the niche that we were looking at for this particular master plan and the information we wanted to get, it was a tough decision. But we chose Barry Dunn because we felt that they and they've proven what we were looking for is they were able to do certain things that we were looking at as far as community input to make it so it was it would meet the needs that we were looking for in the long run. There are those ones that are very, very niche specific that when they enter, they put in their application or they put in their information, it didn't meet the criteria that we were looking for. And so again, we wanted to find that one that met what we were looking at in the when we completed the process. And again, those 2 that I mentioned, next practices in RHA were, we're all up there, and you want to try to pick everybody because you have experience with them.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you have to pick one.
Well, can you say a little more about community outreach? Define that for people. Why is that important? Because I think at first glance, a master plan is all about take inventory of what you have, what it's worth, how much you need to fix it up, and then who do you want to be in 10, 20 years. But that component of community outreach and being able to get input, this is something that Barry Dunn helps facilitate, correct?
Yes, they do. So what that does is the community input. If you just put together a master plan of just us getting together and we think we should have this and we should have this. Well, we're the individuals who give the recreational basis, right? What we need to look at are those who are actually going to be using the facilities, the programs, and the events that we're trying to put together. You don't know that unless you talk to them. The old saying is, you don't know what you know until you know. You don't know until you ask those individuals. So that's why the various outreaches that we did weren't your typical, the statistically valid survey was really good, but Barry Dunn and our team actually went out into community and they came to our various events and talked to the people that were there, because not every master plan is specifically for those residents that are there, but it's also for those individuals who come in. So when we're going to Mariachi Fest, or we're going to Winter Fest, or we're going to Trunk or Treat, those ones there, we're getting those individuals that come and they're participating during those things. Now, one of the things that our staff did, which is pretty amazing, is we have an after school program that Bo Davis and Priscilla and Alejandra helped create with the school, which is pretty amazing. We actually get almost about $1 million or so in funding to run this program. They actually did a program for the kids to plan parks. So the kids actually got to design parks that information was given to Barry Dunn. So not only do we have your typical adult and your seniors that we did something for, we actually did something in the schools to gather that information. So now we have a larger knowledge crew or knowledge group that we have, that it will help us form a more cohesive master plan, not only for your adults, but also for your seniors and for your kids.
Yeah. And I really think it's important to do that exercise because if you're not careful, only the squeaky wheels will have their voices heard. But a lot of people that use Parks and Rec are never going to show up to a council meeting. They're never going to come weigh in. If you don't go to them, they're not coming to you. And so you have to kind of find these different ways to get the input from those community members that typically aren't going to speak up.
Yeah, I talked about, and I mentioned it before, my really good friend and old boss, Chris Daste, had the Daste rule of 3 to 5. 3 to 5% of the people are the complainers. You give them $1 million, they want $1.1 million. So you hear from those people all the time. You don't hear from the 95 to 97% of the people that are happy at what's happening because you're meeting their needs. You'll hear from some of them, but for the most part, you won't hear from those. So those are the ones that we really need to focus on. Those ones who go to the events, those ones who, the kids who are going to the after school program, and actually talking to them to try to say, okay, how can we do things a little bit better? That kind of information is gathered, put into a master plan. So you have that guidebook for, and it's not a coffee table book. It's actually a book that you look at from time to time to make sure that you're having the next revision of a positive master plan.
I love it. Okay, so as we come to the end of the show, two traditions that we have. One is a guest, my previous guest before the convention, left a question for you. But before we get to that, and then you have to think of a question that you want to leave my next guest. But before we get to that, if you're standing in front of a group of undecided, say college or high school kids that really don't know what they want to do, what is your kind of sales pitch testimony for the industry for them to consider maybe dedicating their life to what you have?
If you really want something that is rewarding, and I'm not talking about financially, I'm talking about intrinsically, and that you can carry on, and that your inner person of 7 years old can look back and say, I really did make a difference. Parks, Recreation, Community Services is the way to go. A lot of times you won't get a lot of credit, but you'll have that one. I had somebody at Mariachi Fest that came and said, hey, Johnathan, my kids love you because you stop by day camps and say hi to them.
Hmm.
Just somebody who was at the concert who remembers me from being the director who goes by camps from time to time. That's why I do it, because that kid right there, it tells their parents, Jonathan's a really nice guy and he makes sure that we have fun. So
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do to have a lasting result with people, our profession is the one that is.
I love it. Love it. Great testimony. Okay, so here's your question, and this comes from Sean Seidel in Winchester, Tennessee. He's
Oh,
actually a park.
Sean.
Yeah, he's a park ranger. So this is
Oh, nice.
we have a growing community of state park rangers. We'll probably have, I see this becoming a weekly show just for state parks, because it's such a different topic. But his question to you is, how much is technology going to play in how we run our parks and interact with our guests?
That's a great question. Was it Sean?
Yeah, that was Sean.
Sean, that's a great question, because you're starting to see that now. A lot of the parks that you go to, even if it's a trail or just walking through a park, they're having a lot of QR codes that people are able to click on and get information about the location they're in. We're looking at that, actually, is being able to have an interactive city where you're able to click on something. Oh, I want to be able to go to, let's say, McVicker Park. Well, it has your QR code. You're able to scan it, see the amenities are at the park, how far the park is, if there's anything special to it. So I think technology is going to have a lot to do with how we recreate. AI is a prime example. A lot of the things that you're seeing now is AI generated. The graphics, the different kind of things that are happening. It's helping people get knowledge, but there is that concern that people will rely too much on it, and we take away that human aspect. So we need to make sure we keep that human aspect as we go further with technology, to make sure there's a good synergy between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to one of our strategic partners, Outdoor Link. They partnered with someone. I need to get Tasha and Dave to tell me more about this, but you know how they have flat screens, 50-inch flat screens are now practically free. It's like a couple
Yeah.
$100. And they have a way where they can connect to them, and someone at the city can update the 200 screens scattered throughout all their facilities real time, so that they can talk about like special events coming up, council meetings, anything you want. But rather than having to print paper out, you can literally just change it on a computer, and they all change simultaneously. So I think that's, like you said, it's just get information out so much quicker than we used to.
True, very true.
All right. So what's your next, what's question do you have for my next guest?
I don't know who your next guest is, but how do we maintain the positive communication with our community that seems to deal more with technology? So that's an opposite, because we're looking at expanding, but how do we keep that human connection to ensure that we're meeting their needs and that they want to participate in a positive aspect when it's human based rather than AI based? The quick example is my grandkids. They spend more time on a computer or on a PS5 or something like that than they do interacting. So we make it my daughter-in-law Autumn and my son Tyler, they make it a point that they call at least once or twice a week, so they can sit and talk to Nana and Papa about their day and those kind of things. So how do we make sure that we keep that human component as part of this growing AI technology based world?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think in the future, Parks and Rec becomes more important than ever as all of us are getting pulled into the screen time at an alarming rate. And if anything, we need green spaces and outdoor time and sunlight and grass more than we ever did, not
Mhm.
less. But
Totally agree. Totally agree.
that's it. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show, and appreciate you coming on and giving us 15 minutes at the NRPA convention. And you going to Houston? Is that next year? I think.
Uh, no, it's Philadelphia next year.
Oh, that's right. It's Philly. That's right. That's right. Oh,
That's
that's
the
going to be
plan. I've actually talked to some colleagues and doing some more sessions. The session I did on creating reels, and actually, if they go online and check out my LinkedIn page, we posted those reels that they did. I'm pretty proud of what Nikki and I did. It was a lot of fun, and the people had a lot of fun, and we got some really good reels out of it. But
yeah.
that's my plan is to go next year to
Yeah.
Philly. I've never been to Philadelphia,
Me
and
neither.
being a Cowboys fan, it'll be it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But and there's a Top Golf there that I haven't been to, so
Yeah.
that's a goal of
Well,
mine. So.
well, send me any reels that you have. I'd love to get them out there and get you more exposure on that because you're doing such a great job, and you're really finding your little knack to create viral content for this industry, and that's what we need. We really need more people to do things like you're doing. So I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. I was just thinking one really quick, Craig, of one you need to do is you need to hit the senior and retired park
Yes,
professional that
that's
can
it.
be, and maybe call it grandparents corner or something like that, where it's you get somebody who's close to retiring or retired, and have them give their words of wisdom
Yeah.
that could be kind of cool.
You know what I'll do is, if you don't mind, I'll so the Chris is one of our very talented video editors. He made those other two, and we were looking for kind of what's going to be our next one. So I'll include you in a LinkedIn chat with me, you, and him. And if you could type it out what you want, I know exactly kind of what you're talking about, but I'd love to get the feedback, and then you can help him dial it in and stuff just by giving him some critiques. That would be so good because these senior centers are almost make or break deals for some of these people that are, fighting isolation and stuff. It really is a big, important part of Parks and Rec that sometimes just gets overlooked.
I agree, and give 'em my number, give 'em my shoe size, whatever. If anything I can help, I'd love it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Craig. You have a great day.
Yep. Take care. Bye. All right. So that was another great part 2 from Jonathan Skinner. What a great Parks and Rec professional out in California. He's also doing a great job creating some short, what do they call this? Reels, shorts, content kind of stuff that's really going viral. And along with all other content creators in this industry, I encourage all of you to just keep going. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just start. And if you need some help with a podcast or something, I'd be more than happy to tell you everything we've learned on the hardware, the software, technical setup, and we actually even help co-create some of the Parks and Rec podcasts, like the Rec Room is another great example. Shout out to Henry County, Georgia, and that whole team, which were all there. Thomas, JP, Brian, Donna. There was just, I think they brought half their leadership over there. But we help to co-create with other Parks and Rec professionals. So you're not in this alone. There is now officially a media company that will help you get the word out, and then even help amplify so you can maybe pick up a bunch more followers if we can help distribute a little bit. And then we don't charge anything for content creators in this space. We've got a wall of vendors that want to help us out, help it done. They want to help build this industry. They want to help build out a media company for it. And so we'd be glad to help serve y'all in any way we can, even if it's just a conversation. I'd be glad to help y'all out. Shout out to everyone. I think we ended up with 42 42 live shows, something like that. 42 15-minute shows at NRPA. It was amazing. We're going to make some little collage of that event. Next year, I hope we can be even more involved. I'd like to convince NRPA or whoever it is that we should have like a media area. And my goal is between now and Philadelphia, maybe we can have a media area with maybe 10 podcasts or 10 media companies, all in Parks and Rec producing. Because as y'all know, my story was when I was at the Bitcoin National Convention, I was one of 42 media companies. And that's where I got the idea that Parks and Rec needs to have a healthy, robust media content creation machine, as many as possible. And so I would love that to be just an addition to everything that NRPA does. We create an open space for the podcasters to come and create content live from their from the national event. And then we're also doing the same similar work at the state level. So we're working with California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. We're going to GRPA. We're going to Kentucky. We've got a lot of states on the books that we'll be doing everything you saw at NRPA with DPRS Media Co. We'll be doing the same thing at the state level, and hopefully trying to encourage other content creators and podcasters to kind of set up a little something, do live interviews, just basically do what they do, and really trying to get that ecosystem jump started. So if you're interested in making content for the Parks and Rec community, reach out to me. If you have a message, well, I can tell you right now, you have a message. We just need to get good at telling it, and we want to help out. All right, so that's all I have for y'all today. I'm going to play a quick promo for the Youth Sports Mastery, Aaron Locks. Shout out to Aaron. Met him for the first time in person. You know, we've been working together for seems like forever, building out the Thursday Youth Sports Mastery show, 1:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. So if you want to learn more about youth sports and parks and recreation, Aaron Locks does an outstanding job making a really good show. And Dave Ramirez and the whole Outdoor Link team we are getting ready to launch, or you could say it's officially launched. We just haven't picked the time of the week and day that we're going to do a weekly show on smart cities in Parks and Rec. And so that's our next show that we'll be creating. And we've got another 10 shows behind that we're going to be rolling out over the next 3 to 6 months. So lots of stuff happening. Thank you for everyone that just the outpouring of love and support for the work that we're doing. This really is, it's an honor to serve this industry and to be able to help tell the story, get the word out, and start building out all this infrastructure so that we can have a robust messaging department of Parks and Recreation and media. So let us know if we can do anything better. Again, this is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, and I will see y'all here again tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion Parks and Rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.